يا لغتي عربية حسبي بأنك منطقي وبياني عربية قلبي.
I just put it on today.
Okay. So you're talking about... Oh, I've got brain freeze, it's so called. Okay, you're talking about...
Integration.
Yeah. So, like I said to you before, yeah, I think at the end of the day, communities should have the ability to choose for themselves.
Okay, good.
Right, and I agree with that. Like you said on the video, I would only say that I think that the reason why people are complaining about integration is not so much that they don't want they want people to integrate. It's in the context of terrorism. It's in the context of these kind of issues that people are saying, you know what, if they weren't separate, we wouldn't have this issue. So I think that's really the context of the complaint. I don't think it's...
No, I agree with you to some extent. You're right. That I agree with you to some extent. In the context of... Because these are two separate discussions that are sometimes had. Like if
they are separate.
Yeah, like for example, let me give you some examples, yeah? The example of the women in Islam wearing niqab. Yeah. Niqab is the face covering, yeah? That's a discussion that's got almost nothing to do with terrorism, because actually there's no one example I can think of a niqabi, someone who wears a niqab, doing a terrorist bomb or something like that. It's not been a security issue. Right. Yeah, it's been on the news. Yeah, and almost every...
as a security issue?
No, not as a security issue. It's about the niqab. It's been on the news in almost every Western country. So, for example, in France, obviously, it's banned. It's banned in public spaces. The hijab is banned in schools in France. Right. In England, there's the discussion of it. Although Britain hasn't made the decision to ban it, they've certainly spoken about it. Yeah, in Netherlands they've spoken about it. In Switzerland they've spoken about it. In most of these Western countries they've spoken about it. Now, what's really interesting, what people don't know, is that actually there's some Jewish women that wear niqab in Israel as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
You can YouTube it, no problem.
No, it does exist. I just want to say though, it's very, very, very unusual, and it's a new thing.
Whether it's unusual or not, it exists, doesn't it? Okay, fine. So once again, it's an issue which, I mean, a lot of people now listening to what I'm saying would be completely shocked. Go on Google and you'll write down Haredi Jews niqab.
It's relevant. If it's such a small amount of people, why?
Well, there's a small amount of Muslim women doing it. Now, the point I'm making is this:
millions. It's not a small amount.
No, there's a small amount comparative. It's relative to the population of Muslims. It's small.
Well, now, what's the percentage? Like 2%?
It's 1%, I think. Some studies say that 1% of Muslim women wear it.
I see it a lot around.
Maybe you live in East London or something. That's where the 1%. Yeah, is that right?
Well, of course, yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know. It's not an of course.
It's not going to be.
I don't know who you live, my friend. Anyways, the point is this: is that is a reality. Yeah. My overarching thesis is as follows: I understand that the British public has a right to be cautious and fearful to some extent of terrorism. I'm not trying to diminish from that fear or not even diminish from that fear. I'm not trying to kind of ridicule that, because if you see things blowing up, you're going to get scared. That's a human reaction, especially if you see it on the media.
Well, it doesn't matter where you see it.
So terrorism is a separate discussion. What I'm saying is, with integration by definition is to the extent to which you assimilate with society, or the extent to which you involve yourself in a particular society, whether it be economically, socially, or otherwise. Now, what I'm saying is this: when it comes to the Jewish community, most reports have shown that they have integrated in that context less than the Muslim community, but we have seen less of that on the news. That's my point.
Yeah, and that's why I responded to you.
Yeah, so you agree with that?
Yeah, no, but my point was that it's the context of terrorism.
No, as I said to you before, there's different discussions being had about Muslims in Britain and elsewhere. Yeah. Sorry, here you go.
Oh, where do you want to put?
Oh, don't worry, my friend. I'll sort you out.
See, Muslims help out Jews. See.
Listen, Muslims have always helped out Jews. Seriously, and that's something that our religion tells us to do. Do you know, at the time of the Prophet, at the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab, one of the caliphs. No. Umar ibn al-Khattab is one of the caliphs, the second caliph. Yeah. A Jewish man came to him, and he said to him, "Listen, I'm an old man, and I'm someone who's not receiving a pension." So he said to him, "Listen, let this old man and everyone like him who's a Jew receive a pension." Okay. You know, so in other words, the rights afforded to Jewish people in the context of Muslim lands were extraordinary rights, which is why for the most part in history, you'll find that Jews actually preferred to live with Muslims than with Christians. It's a general overarching historical claim I'm making, but one which is substantiated with heavy evidence. Okay, so
I mean, I would agree with you. I would say that Jewish people had a very, very, very bad time in Europe, and they did fare much better in Muslim countries. Having said that, I don't think it was far from perfect. I mean, I think the idea of the jizya, I think that is fundamentally unfair.
Why?
Because you're charging a different tax to.
It's a lesser tax.
It really is a less tax. So if I look at it, if I Google it, look it up.
Let me once again forget about Googling it. I'll give you the references right here and now.
Yeah, go on. The video will be up, so I can just. If you
As I was saying to the person before, okay. According to the majority of Mufassirun, actually the majority that I've read, that one of the only places in the Quran where the word jizya is mentioned is in chapter 9 verse 29. حتى يعطوا جزية عن يد وهم صاغرون. This verse, until they pay the jizya عن يد وهم صاغرون, and they're subordinated. In other words, they are submissive to the tax. Sorry.
You'll walk off. You'll end up walking off.
I'll steal your mic.
So look, two things are being said here. Number one, the jizya here, the word jizya, okay, literally is a tax that Jews and Christians and others have to pay in the context of an Islamic governance. Yeah, that jizya, okay, according to the majority of Mufassirun, they say it's like a dirham or half a dirham or whatever. Now, whatever that is less than the zakah. Because the zakah, according to all the fuqaha, okay, or the jurists, they say it's 2.5% of the zakatul mal is 2.5%. Then you have zakat al-fitr, where you have to pay an additional amount. There's different kinds of zakat. If you have animals, you have to pay zakat on the animals. And there's a whole discussion on zakat which we can't go into, but it's basically more. You have more obligation. Now, the reason why there's a change in word, why is it zakah for the Muslims and not zakah for the Christians and Jews? The word zakah, it comes from tazkiyah. Tazkiyah means purification. So really,
it's the same as tzedakah. In Jewish, we have that tzedakah. It means it's like charity. It doesn't mean literally charity, but it's the same thing. It the literal meaning, it means righteousness. But it means, in English, we would call it charity. It means money.
So no, that's good. Sadaqah, we have sadaqah.
Oh, you've also got sadaqah.
We've got sadaqah. Sadaqah and zakah are two different things. Okay? But for us, sometimes sadaqah is mentioned in the Quran as zakah, but that's a different discussion. I don't want to confuse everyone. Point being is zakah comes from tazkiyah. Tazkiyah means purification. Now, why? Because from an Islamic perspective, the act of giving money in taxes is a purifying endeavor. So it purifies your wealth, right? As for the Jews and Christians, it doesn't have a religious functionality. It's more of a secular law, or it works in a secular sense.
I don't want to cut you short, but you said you're going to give the source. So if you give the source first,
so
and then elaborate.
For example, I'll give you 2 or 3 sources. In chapter 9:29, if you look at Tafsir al-Qurtubi and Tafsir Ibn Kathir and Tafsir al-Tabari, all 3 of those tafsir, all 3 of those, especially al-Qurtubi, he goes into a long discussion as to what is the jizya, who it is that needs to pay the jizya, and there's a discussion among the ulama as to who pays the jizya. Some say the Jews and Christians are definite. Whether the mushrikun are part of that or not, that's the discussion. I don't want to go into too much, but I'm giving you some of the things they said. Yeah. Point being is that
and it says over there that the Jews and Christians should pay less than the 2.
It says over there,
it was this. What does it come up to, like 5%?
So what it says in what al-Qurtubi mentions, what al-Qurtubi mentions explicitly, is that he asks what is the jizya, what should it be? So he discusses himself the different opinions on that, and he says it could be 1 dinar, could be half a dinar, whatever. When you calculate it economically, you find that actually comparable to the zakah, it's less. And if we consider also that Jewish people, as we say, old people and young, and people that can't afford it, would be given some kind of welfare system, then actually I don't see where the controversy is. The only thing is that they've seen that this is how ridiculous the Orientalists have become. The Orientalists have become so ridiculous that they've seen that it's a different name,
but can I ask you,
and they say, okay, it's discriminatory.
But let me ask
I want that discrimination. If that's discrimination, that's positive discrimination. I want that one. I want discrimination like that.
Let me ask you a question. do you have to go through long calculations to figure out that it's less? Like on the surface, does it look like that the Jews and Christians are paying more, and then when you look into it, you're paying less? Or is it?
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go here.
Or is it immediately you look up these sources, right, and you can say, okay, this was what was it? What was the term of the coin? What was the name? Dinar. Right. Here's one dinar, and there is 5%, and you can somehow figure out that the dinar.
No,
is
everything is
But you're saying it's clear. Is it clear like that, or it's not clear?
No, it's not.
I mean, that really is not clear because one's a percentage and one's a dinar. I don't know how much a dinar is.
So obviously
we can't even know already.
There's something called convert. Or what they do, obviously, the ulama of today, the scholars of today, will have to take that currency and try and take it through some kind of economic conversion, just like we do with everything else.
So can you say it's a bit? You can't. It's not clear since one is a fixed amount and one's a percentage. So you can't say which one's more. Is that
no?
Is that fair? Is that a fair
it's not. What's not a fair? I'll tell you what's not a fair statement. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani in his in Bulugh al-Maram, his very the book that it's a compilation of hadith. He discusses jizya, and he once again he says you can put jizya one like block jizya that everyone has to break up and stuff, or it can be an individual thing, whatever. Taxes for Jewish people and Christian people in a Muslim land, in general, has not been shown from an Islam perspective to be any more than the zakat the Muslims should pay.
Okay, so what you're saying is now that in practice, in history, right, it has not been more.
I don't know about that. That's a different story. No, because when you talk about history,
historically, you don't.
History.
From the book, it's not clear.
Let's talk about history.
Percentage and one's talking about
okay, no. Let's talk about history.
So
if you want to talk about history,
there's clear idea from that it's not. By the way, I'm not saying it's a terrible thing. I mean, throughout history, there's many terrible things have happened. I'm not saying this is the worst.
So let's talk about
within this context.
Let's talk about history. History, we've got different kind of empire, as you know. There's the Abbasid Empire, the Umayyad Empire, then the Abbasid Empire. Then within the Abbasid Empire, you have the Ayyubid Empire. Then you have the Fatimid Dynasty. You have the Ottoman Empire, which lasted from 1453 until 1924. You have Islam in Spain, which lasted from 710 to 1493. From 710 to 1493. So when we talk about history, the question is, what history are we talking about? That's the first one. Because if you're asking me to make one comment about all of that history, you'd be asking me to do the impossible, my friend.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Let's be honest.
But
the Ottoman Empire had the millet system. In Spain, they had another system. In the Abbasid Caliphate, they had the third system.
Here's the thing. If it were to be, and I haven't done any research on this, right? But if it were to be the case that in most of those countries, right, and most of those Muslim countries, right, they had the Jews were forced to pay more than the Muslims, and it's also the case that you can't calculate it based on the Quran. What is it, Hadith or Quran? What is it? Where it says that the Jews should pay the jizya.
Jizya in the Quran. It's mentioned in the Quran.
And the amount.
It doesn't say the amount is not mentioned.
Okay, then did.
Yeah.
So if from the Hadith it's not clear which one pays more, and in practice, right? If I don't know, haven't done research. If in practice they always did pay more, then you can't claim that the Jews pay.
I never claimed that they paid less. I said they should pay. There's a difference between a statement of should and ought. I say ought to have, should have. See, look.
Yeah, no,
I'm not here to once again, I say this before, I say it again, I'm not here to represent the Ottomans. I'm not here to represent the Muslims in Spain. I'm not here to represent the Abbasids.
What I'm saying is,
I have no allegiance to any of those empires, because those empires did good and bad.
No, of course,
So for me to say everything they did is good, that's not my position. You're right to say that the Abbasids did bad, the Umayyads did bad to some extent. The Muslims, the Ottomans did bad. All of those guys did bad.
What's happened in this conversation is, right, I wasn't saying that the Muslims were terrible. I was just saying that there's issues.
Okay, right? I don't disagree with that.
I brought up those issues, and then you said, and that's when you started bringing about the Quran, the Hadith, about that they should pay less, right? So
I've just told you.
Right. So really, if you're not talking about practice, then it's not what we're talking about. We're talking about in Muslim lands, right? We're talking about Christian lands versus Muslim lands. So you brought up about the Quran. I didn't bring that up.
No, because we talk about jizya. You mentioned jizya.
Yeah, I talking about the jizya, but we're talking about it in practice.
Right. But the question will be this: look at the law.
In practice, you don't want to discuss it, which is fair enough.
No. What's your name again?
What?
Nossen. Let me tell you something, right?
By the way, before you continue, I just want to say that actually, by the way, when it comes to the what's it called, the hijab, niqab. Actually, I agree with you. When it comes to these things, don't mix politics with religion, right? That's all.
Thank you. I was going to say this. I said if we want to do a comparison, it has to be a fair one. The Muslims have had empires from the time of the Prophet, right? We're talking about some significant times. There was Muslim Islamic empires. I've named like 5 or 6, I think. Yeah, the Muwahhidin, Murabatun. All these are empires, or at least civilizations or states. And in most of those empires, Jews existed. And they continue to exist, in Muslim countries for the.
Well, not today.
Not today. A lot of them left. Some in Morocco, some in go. If you go to Morocco, you'll see Jews there. You will see Jews there. I've seen them.
Morocco, though.
I went to Morocco. I saw Jewish people there. Anyways,
there are Jewish people in Morocco.
Yes, I know. But if we were to do a fair comparison, we say, look at Israel. Let's look at what is referred to today as Israel on the map. What's seen as Israel. Go there. Let's see if the equality that you're espousing now is actually in place there. Would you agree that the equality that you're espousing or you're speaking about is not in place as it relates to the rights of Palestinians in what is referred to as Israel?
Well, I would say it depends what you talk. By the way, I've never really looked a lot into the Israeli thing. In Speaker's Corner, because people ask me, I looked a little bit. So it's obviously very limited my knowledge. It's not really my interest or forte. But what I would say is, what it seems to me is the way I understand it is that if you're talking about like what I would call, for the purpose of this discussion, Israel proper, right, as in not the West Bank, not Gaza, right? Then, as far as I know, they've got 100% equal rights, right?
Is that what you think?
Yeah.
Even in those areas where the settlements are being built.
Isn't that West Bank? Gaza, isn't that the
not always?
No. Settlements is West Bank?
No. It's more than just the West Bank.
Okay, so I'm not. That's
no.
Not,
For example, Jerusalem.
When I'm talking about, like, as if you're not talking about settlements, you're talking about Arabs, Muslim Arabs living as Israeli Arabs, right? As far as I know, they have exactly the same rights as any other Israeli, right?
Okay, that's fine.
If you're talking about the West Bank, right? And I don't know exactly.
No. I'm talking about What I'm talking about, the system in Israel. So that what I'm saying here is this: even Haaretz, which is a national newspaper in Israel, Haaretz courageously puts forward on a regular basis the abuses that the Israeli government, basically do to Palestinian Arabs, and they're a left-wing type newspaper in Israel, and they talk about how Arabs, not even just Muslim Arabs from Christian backgrounds and Muslim backgrounds,
يا لغتي عربية حسبي بأنك منطقي وبياني عربية قلبي